Good evening, it's 2200 UTC on this Monday, the 25th of November, 3305. I'm your host, Jeff Ryan, and welcome to the Prismatic Congress. The Prismatic Congress is a broadcast by the Prismatic Imperium based in Cubio, an active player group that makes up part of the Ashling Deval community and specializing in role-playing. First, general game news. The Golconda initiative is wrapped up, with the Federation bribing their way to control of the populace of the ship, and they are giving them a second-hand outpost for them to fix up. In other news, the beta starts in 2 days for the January update. Issues being covered include repairing Thargoid attack stations so that all delivery will now count for the starports. High-resolution screenshots, which create tiling artifacts and bright objects. This will also be fixed. This is an important thing for explorers and other people who love taking photographs. The Galaxy map should now allow you to select for search systems. Sometimes that wouldn't be working. And there are various other issues. Some issues, surprisingly, will require further investigation, although it is good that at least Frontier Developments have acknowledged the problems. Some of the things we've already discussed on the show before, for example, the Invincible Heart, which has been a problem for some people. And also resets for killing Thargoids. So there's a lot to that they're looking at. There's some things they're investigating, but they're not fixing. But it's good that they're trying to see how these things work out. And that's the general game news for this week. Our other regular hosts this week are either working or sick. If they're, we wish them both luck. But now it's over to Chief Tesla for Vigor news.
Hello, this is Chief Tesla, and I am here to announce the new Cybertruck. No, wait. This is Lord Warden Mistler to speak for the branch of Vigor, and this week I only want to highlight 2 new developments in our BGS. The first one is for the Prismatic Imperium. We have completed another successful retreat, again thanks to Nightmare Feet, and we have left the Newlands system. And for the Adamantine Union, I have other successful news. We have successfully liberated the Arapani system. We have taken control over that system and are setting up our program to free and care for the slaves in that former Empire system. And that's pretty much already it for Vigor this week. So back to Jeff directly.
That was a quick news section this week, Mr.
It was.
So, like, compared to last week's where we had almost 50 minutes of news and analysis of the news, we're over in 5 minutes. So that's this week's show. Thank you everybody for joining us. I'm just kidding. The retreat. We actually have Bare Feet in the audience. Would you like to join us, please?
Yes, I would.
Yeah, there he is. Actually, we discussed our retreat last time, and it was actually you weren't in the audience that time, so you're here today. So how difficult has it been to engineer a retreat? I know under the old system it was incredibly difficult, if not impossible. Again, is this something that you can now work on, and it's an objective to go towards, and you can accomplish it with difficulty, but it's reasonably feasible, or is it still?
It's actually much harder than it was in the old system, because the way you would be able to do it very well under the old system, since all factions were tied under a single state, is you find a system where you weren't trying to retreat out of, tie the faction in a war there, and then you could get pretty much no positive influence unless you did combat objectives, handing in bounties or handing in combat bonds to the system. So without having that upward pressure, if you kind of think of influence charts like you would like a stock chart, for example, there's very limited ways to get somebody up, and it's very easy to drive them down. In this case, which also helps with things like leapfrogging, getting avoiding wars that you really don't want to get in on your trip towards the bottom, that's not an option anymore. So it's quite a lot harder. And honestly, if somebody is contesting you, if somebody is trying to stop a retreat actively, it's almost impossible to do it. It's one of the most difficult things to do in the BGS left in this game. So it's a lot harder now. But thankfully, we're talking about some low pop systems and not very traveled systems, so we're able to really do a good job of driving that down and make the Prismatic Imperium's BGS a little bit more manageable for those of us that work on it.
But isn't it, under the new system, it's easier to target specific systems for the state that you want, whereas under the old system, it was kind of like a lottery as to what happened where, whereas now it's...
Well, the tiered system still exists, and you can have multiple states at the same time with, with boom or lockdown, even though you don't see a lot of those anymore. So if you want to target a specific state, yes. But retreat and expansion, which under the old systems you classified as the movement states, those are a little bit harder to target because now you can't necessarily get that everywhere anymore. And actually a good example of that is movement states were on the bottom tier of that. So really what you could do is if you got somebody into retreat or even expansion for that matter, you could end those states early by getting into a war somewhere else, a higher tier faction state. So instead of a 6-day retreat, you could cut that down to 3 days. So that doesn't exist anymore either. You have to maintain that specific movement state for the entire length. So that's another 3 to 4 days where you are actively trying to keep a faction up or suppress it.
Okay, so I remember when the new system was brought in, one of the discussion points at the time was specifically retreats, because even under the old system, they'd been seen as being very difficult to do. And they'd stated that it was definitely one of the advantages under the new system was that it would be easier to push a retreat state through. Whereas practice from experienced BGSers like yourself was saying that it is actually more difficult now. So
I think the main advantage is it's less convoluted because you only have to focus on that particular system and all the states are mostly local. Whereas before you had to pay attention to pretty much all your systems.
Okay. So there are some advantages to it. But anyway, congratulations, Knight Barefeet on this is at least the second, if not the third.
Third.
The third one since we started doing the show. So I know that retreats are important to get us out of systems that we don't want to be in to make things more manageable. So congratulations, well done. I know specifically that retreats were difficult. It's one of the states that is the most important and is also very difficult to do. The two most important ones for me and for most people, I think, are expansions when you want them and retreats when you want them. So, well done. Very savvy.
Thank you.
One of the reasons that I wanted to cut today's general news short is I thought it was ripe for open discussion and not just for hearing my voice droning on and reading through the list. So let's move directly to discussion. Prismatic discussion. Prismatic discussion.
Very
Prismatic discussion. Okay. Everybody's
got some help on that one.
That's awesome. It's not mine, it's Missler's. So welcome everybody. Welcome also tonight we have a special guest star, Chancellor Otto, who is leader of the Prismatic Imperium. We also have Commander Daniel Giral, who's a new member. Knight Barefeet, who just joined us for my interrogation about retreat states. And of course we have Lord Gordon Tisler. So
may not be special, but I am a star.
So the main thing, I mean, the two main things in news were the Golconda mission has been completed. The Federation, curse them to hell, have won control of the populace. I understand that it was actually a considerable lead. So I was a bit surprised by that because I know that we are in the Empire we are fantastic haulers. So is it just something that maybe didn't excite the Empire player base, or focused on other things, or is it we tried and we were beat by the Feds?
I mean, if you look at the final numbers, I didn't see where it actually ended up, but I knew with 1 day to go, like Feds were about 7 million tons ahead.
Jesus.
It was not in question. I think it's hard to argue that the Empire put in a serious effort.
So
We've always had a problem with manpower versus the Federation, though.
The question I'm interested in is this really due to manpower, or is this more of a question of where do people want that double rep bonus?
I think that's a fair question, because it is very hard to grind rep now, because there's not really many exploits, or if that's what you want to call it, or shortcuts to be able to do it anymore. The last most popular one was ferrying refugees from attacked Thargoid stations attacked by Thargoids, which that's obviously not in the game anymore. So I think it's a fair thing to ask where people want to be able to grind their rep a little bit more. Because there's no good way to do that, and a double XP essentially for superpower rank grinding is a pretty good incentive.
Yeah, it all got worse when they took away moon golfing.
I was actually thinking about moon golfing last week. We
yeah.
were discussing games that we used to do in the PI. I never actually took part in that, but it was definitely from our early past. So, why is it that the Federation, people want to grind rank with the Federation? Would this not, if the Empire had won, would it not have given a place for people to grind rank for the Empire, or is that?
It would have. I think you end up seeing that more of the people who just enter into this game are more allied to the Federation, at least to begin with. We've always kind of seen a somewhat interesting split. You have definitely more Americans join Federation powers, where the Empire is definitely more European based.
Yeah.
The reason I brought it up, my quick question too, is right when they announced the initiative, before it even started in the game, and they put that announcement in there that there will be double rep for whoever wins the initiative at the end. One of the first thoughts that I got was, so if everyone in the Empire who already has that rank maxed out, and everyone in the Federation who has their rank maxed out, do they swap sides now? So does the Empire, or a lot of the Empire at least, fight for the Federation and vice versa? How does this end up? I'm really curious. I would be interested in some kind of numbers there.
I have absolutely zero rank with the Feds, and I refuse to get any. I refuse to rank with the Federation. I'm just that loyal, even for game reasons, even for the Corvette. You can stick the Corvette up your docking port. I really don't want it. So.
Well, it's pretty easy to do when you're clear on the other side of the galaxy.
Yeah, but even when I was on your side, the guy just
don't make me fly out there again, Jeff. Do it.
Right, so that's the Golconda. I think it was a good story. I mean, what do you guys feel about the story that was told with the Golconda?
Well, I think the story was really good, but also the major issue was that the in-game mechanical, things that you got from it kind of drove everyone towards the Federation, simply because you had more of a chance to earn some credits, and then eventually people just, a lot of people don't really look at the game from a role play perspective, and they don't really care about what happens as long as they get money and get ships and can fight,
Yeah.
Well, that's another interesting question, because I'm not sure I agree with that a lot of people don't play this for the role play. In a game like this, I think you're always role playing to some degree.
That's it's kind of a semantics thing there. I mean, like, I agree with you. Everybody's role playing, whether they admit it or not. But I also agree with Daniel. Like, a lot of people don't really see it as role playing, and their main focus is basically they're role playing as mercenaries. They might not see it that way, but yeah.
It is, but if you also want to look at it, because from the perspective of the story, the Federation was the group that was going to let the Golconda kind of continue its existence. They would have a planetary base, but they were more or less going to be allowed to do their thing, remain autonomous, and stay on the generation ships, where the Empire wasn't really having any of that. So if there's some kind of tipping point, that may have been a part of it. It seemed more natural to side with the Federation. I think
I think
let
I
them
said
continue
something
their.
similar. I think I said something similar in an earlier show when we discussed this. It was like, personally, me, the player, I actually would agree with the Federation's point here, but Jeff Ryan, he's all Empire, so I kind of rolled with it that way. But yeah, I can understand that. I agree that story-wise, it seemed like the kinder thing to let them continue on an outpost with their own lifestyle and adapt that to an outpost instead of it's been generations now they've been living that way. So,
and I think Daniel made another point indirectly, which is the rewards, especially if you're not too interested in the story or are a new player, or I don't know, and you see these community goals. I think your eyes also, of course, wander to the rewards that you can expect. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of feedback loop where people see, oh, the Federation is a little bit ahead. There's higher rewards there, so I'll support them.
Yeah, there's always that selfish aspect to it. One of the best community goals that's been done was actually done by us, and it was a roleplay community goal where people were allowed to free slaves, and it was wildly successful. Everybody in the game took part because they were making lots of money selling slaves, and they got to feel good about it. So it was a great success at the time. And then we did a kind of roleplay follow-up one where there was no reward, and nobody took part. So if they got paid for feeling good, everybody was like, yes, we're going to free the slaves. And we're like, okay, guys, you can roleplay bringing your slaves and report it, and we'll have this unofficial CG. And that was organized by Locknor and the Twin Candles guys, some of the guys who now make up Sagittarius Eye. So they did this Twin Candles initiative, and it bombed. Nobody, you're not paying us. No, we're not going to Wibbith. So, yeah. So if you're paying people, then yes, if there's that combination of riches and feel good, and people are happy to jump in. Anyway, so the big story this week obviously has been the January update beta announcement. So this is basically the continuation of Frontier Development's promise that, despite the fact that the last couple of years have been focused on improving the game, the next year will be focused on improving the game. In a slightly different way, though. They're going to focus on bugs, and not Thargoids. They're going to focus on fixing problems with the game. We've discussed this is something that we've discussed a lot in previous episodes, so our opinions about this are on record. But how do we feel about the specific focuses? Sorry, I think it'd be foci. How do we feel about the specific foci of this beta?
Well, for what they announced and the bugs they are going to fix, I'm mostly looking forward to it. I think those are all fairly high impact bugs that have been wanted fixed for a while now, and I find it good that they are so clear in the announcement about what they need testing for, if they need any further testing, so to direct players to the right locations in the beta. What I'm a bit concerned about is the extent of the patch that we'll really see, because in the end, this post is just a list of a few bullet points, and there are a lot of more bugs, and I'm really curious in what the final extent of the patch will be, and what other bugs that they did not announce yet there will be fixed.
Yeah, it was mentioned in the comments that the bugs that are mentioned in the post are not the only bugs that will be on the update patch notes. In fact, so keep an eye out for update patch notes, because there we will list every issue. So they've already addressed that this is not everything. Although, again, with Frontier, you always have to be careful with what they say versus what they do. So it might be there'll be an extra 2. We don't know. But no, I take them in good faith in this. They're trying, they're sitting down, they're focusing on the bugs. We've already discussed in a previous episode how I personally find it a little bit strange they're doing this now and not after the big update that's coming in 2020. That would make more sense to me then, after you've had a massive update. That's the time when you really want to, especially if you've got a player base that have been crying for such a big update and new material, because we've been kind of left hanging there for a few years now. That I mean, after you give them a big, massive update, that's the time to then sit down and fix it. So, I don't know. I'm a bit. It strikes me as a bit odd that they're doing this now and not after the big update, or maybe it's necessary for it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but they've always kind of had late 2020 as the target for the big update. So if you don't do this between now and then, what are you going to do? Also, one thing I want to add for the patch notes, because I was checking out the bugs that are going to be implemented for the beta when they check with the beta.
Implement the bugs.
Well, kind of. Let me finish up here, because I was checking out. Speaking of bugs, the AXI Discord, and apparently for the beta and some of the logging that they're going to need to capture, there are some things you have to edit on your configuration files. So if you are interested in helping out with finding the bugs with the bugs, I would check over there to their Discord and see what exactly you're going to need to do.
I'm surprised by that, because I mean they specifically addressed that as things that they want to get telemetry on. The Invincible Heart, which I know is one of Otto's big ones. The team have been investigating this issue for some time. However, it's proven difficult to reliably reproduce in-house. As part of the beta, we'll be adding additional logging information. We'll need our community beta testers to try to reproduce the issue so we can collect more data to help us resolve it. Is that something they're speaking about directly with the AXI?
It seems to. So I'm reading from the AXI Discord right now. There needs to be verbose logging that needs to be enabled and in-game logging that needs to be enabled. So this is something that they are looking to collect data on, but there are some configuration file updates that I probably cannot get into now because I don't see it here, but it is in the AXI Discord in their events channel if you want to get more information and, again, help with trying to find some of those bugs. Sounds like there is still a little bit of extra work to do once you enable the beta.
Because it maybe in that sort of situation, it's like they need more telemetry than they would regularly get. They don't want to turn it on for everybody, because that would, just give them too much information to go through. So they're limiting it to people who want to reproduce this specific bug, so they have that specific in detail telemetry. They're targeting down on this rather than enabling some kind of verbose in depth for everyone, because then that would overload them with telemetry.
That would make sense.
Yep, that's what it sounds like to me. Any other things here that have caught anybody's eye or thoughts about the beta? I think for me, one thing that kind of stood out, not in a serious way, was the SLF female NPC crew member has no audio and no text in the comms, and we will implement a fix for this issue. So they've had the women silenced for years now. Is that what they're telling us?
That's what it sounds like, but I've had female NPC pilots.
Yeah,
I've never had that issue, so maybe it's not a widespread issue, because it's at least it's not affecting me.
It would be annoying if for the one guy that had it, though. Or girl.
Yeah, but maybe it's something that came in later, because it's one of those things, like, I could swear that my female NPC crew member was speaking a few years ago, but, like, the last time I had one, like, about a year ago, or even, like, if I had one 6 months ago, could I swear that she was actually speaking? I honestly couldn't. I know it's definitely happened, but I don't know, maybe it's been switched off at some point.
Maybe Maybe we've all just been assuming the genders of our NPC pilots.
Possibly.
Oh no, they got us.
One thing that I really personally am looking forward to is the long delay when scanning planets with geological sites. For anybody who is an explorer, you know that's probably there. There are two big time wasters when you're exploring. One is the charge up time on your frameshift drive. I mean, those seconds really count when you're jumping continuously, and that time waiting for your frameshift drive to charge just really adds. The other big one is the delay when you're actually scanning planets, when you're trying to get the readings on geological sites and biosites and stuff like that. So that is a big thing. It was not one of those things I ever thought they would address, because I didn't see it as being a bug. I saw it as being an issue, and I accepted it as it was part of the mechanics of the game, and I understood that the game was actually having to do some work, and that's why it was taking so long.
What's your thoughts on how they want to address it? Because I always found this a little bit long to wait for. I wasn't aware of the process that is behind it, because that sounds completely understandable why it takes so long. So
yeah,
I'm kind of happy to see that they have an alternative way that they want to try out.
See, the thing is I don't know how the alternative is actually going to work out for like real explorers, because I mean, even if we see unlikely, we're going for it. You know, we know it's not likely, but I'm feeling lucky today, punk. So we're probably going to keep the scanners going. So, but yeah, no, I think it's a solution. I think for people who are doing a lot of exploring, then yeah, it's a way to cut down on some of the more time-consuming parts. I wouldn't say boring. I like the whole process personally, but yeah, it is a point where I lose a lot of time, which is when I'm scanning planets. So when you're doing it all the time, those two really stick in my mind: is the frameshift drive charging, and that time you spend scanning sites. But it's still, I mean, even that, it's all a lot better than it was under the old system. It's all because now you can do it like right when you get into the star, and you can start scanning things, and then when you get to the planet, you've got a different system. You know, it's all a lot more enjoyable. I mean, it's like the big things that came in from the last big update for me was the mining and the exploration, which for me are just two gameplay routines that they've really hit it out of the park for me with both of those. They're a lot more interesting than they were. I mean, the system, I really like the system. I still always would love content, you know, things to find, and things that made sense. So, I mean, it can always be improved, but I do like the system, and I do like the system in mining. I think they're really good. But yeah, I do like the solution. It gives them a way to cut down on the time, and people can get a good idea, because it is based on it's basically high statistical analysis in this case. It's not just random, and it wouldn't give you a definitive answer, but it's a very likely answer. I mean, if it says very likely, then it's probably very likely. If it says unlikely, then it probably is unlikely. So it's good to see them come up with.
I'll be interested in the first test results. What I'm mostly interested in is unlikely the lowest tier. So does it show unlikely on every planet then, or is there still a no sites option? Because
it seems to me to give you know, it's like there's only three states. There's unlikely, likely, or very likely. So I imagine unlikely is like a catch-all for everything, where they maybe even examined the idea of a fourth or fifth state and decide, okay, unlikely, we'll put everything that would be in like the minus 40% bucket in here, and then likely is like 40 to 70%, and then very likely 70 to 100%. So maybe they just decided to simplify it rather than give even more detail.
Because in my experience, planets that do not have any sites at all usually don't take long at all to show that there are no sites on it. So if it shows, instead of none, it shows unlikely on every planet, I'm not sure if that is an improvement. Maybe they have also plans to blend the two so that it shows unlikely, and then once it finished generating, it updates it to say none or something. I don't know. Maybe that would be an idea.
Yeah, but I suspect that this is not actually with the scanning. This is. I suspect this is pre-scan. So
That's not how I read it. I read this as part of the scan.
It's funny.
yeah, but
The top right,
it's part of
where it
it.
usually shows how many sites there are. That takes, especially if there are sites, it takes up to 30 seconds or so to generate.
Yep.
Well, that's one of the things in the forum post. It's they're asking for feedback on if this system is better or
Right.
not. So
Okay.
I think this is something that they'll listen to. A possible amendment.
How I read it,
Add a none category.
How I read it is like when you do your sweep of the solar system, and you get the information on things, then it will tell you if it's unlikely, likely, or very likely. And then to actually get the information, you have to go to the planet and scan it. So you'd actually have to go there and do the planetary body scan.
Oh yeah, I think
yes.
we're talking about the same thing. Yeah.
I think we are.
Yeah, but it's like this would cut down on the like when you're actually not scan. Sorry, I'm talking about scanning under the old system, which is like when you're actually reading the planet and it then tells you how many sites. And when you actually scan it that way, it takes there's a long cycle, and then it tells you there's 15 biological signs, there's 6 geological signs, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. How I read this is they will no longer give that information on when you're doing the solar system sweep, as I call it now. So when you do the solar system sweep, then you will no longer get that information. You won't get the information that there's 15 biological signs and 6 geological sites. You will just get very likely or likely. And then it's only when you go to the planet and you when you probe it, that's when you will get there are biological and geological signs. That's how I thought they meant to do it. But, I mean, it's still not clear.
I mean, I kind of understood it the way you described it. I'm a little unsure on this pre-system sweep that you're talking about, because there was never anything there when you just brought up the spectrum scanner. It was only when you fine scanned a system where you would get those numbers of that index of biological or geological sites, and then you would not know where exactly those were until you.
Yeah, but that's the step. That's the step I'm talking about them cutting out. They won't be giving that at the FSS. That's what I call the solar system sweep.
We're talking about the same thing.
Talk about the same thing in different ways.
Yeah.
But so when you do the FSS, that's when you get. I suspect they're cutting that out now, and you will no longer get that information at that stage. It will only tell you very likely, and then when you go to the planet, I hope they distinguish, because I mean.
That would be nice.
Yes, between biological and geological sites, because we all know that. I mean, geological sites.
I hope for that too. Yes.
Dime a dozen, but biological sites, they are very rare. I mean, even for me, I've not come across that many in my.
Well, to quote Missler, it's always bark mounds.
I have found it.
While you're at it, please make it bark mounds very likely or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say very likely, but it's only bark mounds. Move on. Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
I'm just over here spamming the heck out of my my accept button for donation missions, so don't mind me.
The bonus is not up yet.
Very loud button. It's fine. It's going to have to happen eventually.
I mean, I think what they wrote in the post makes sense from a technological perspective.
Absolutely.
If it currently works on the system of actually generating the whole system and placing all the sites, that's obviously a lot more, heavy resource wise than it is to simply assign a likelihood to a planet and then generate that when you get closer.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. But I guess we'll see once it's actually implemented.
Yeah. It's one of those things that we need to test it when it comes out. I will still be in deep space on the beta, I assume, so I can easily have a test run at that. It's like the only thing I can test out here, I think, except maybe how easy is it to get back to the bubble. I wouldn't even be back in the bubble. I'd be at Sagittarius A if I suicided.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
that's okay. It's only like a 3 or 4 hour trip from Sagittarius A back to the bubble.
The way
Not
you
every-
do it.
Not everybody drives like us, Otto.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I certainly don't. Although even then, it's like I was talking to some of my students today because they saw that I had my flight stick next to it, and they were like, "Oh, what's that for?" And I showed them the game. They're like, "Oh, that's really cool." And I was like trying to explain to them like where I am and where everybody else is, and I was like, even if I was flying full speed toward, it would take me probably about 20 something hours at least to get home. And it was, what? I was like, yeah, but that's if I did it continuously. If I didn't do anything else, they just how large this game is kind of just blows people's minds who are not used to this style. I mean, for me, it seems really small in like a really short time. I wish it was longer, but
So then we truly never get you back.
I'll be back. I'll be back.
Will you,
I'll be-
though?
I will.
He
At least-
will. He always said, Jeff has always said he would be here for carriers. It's F Dev who's moving that date.
Exactly. Exactly. That is true.
But it's so much easier to blame you than it is. Actually, no, it's pretty easy to blame F Dev.
It is. It's an easy thing. No, but that kind of did kind of. It's no secret that this kind of did affect my desire to play with yet another delay, because I'd been looking forward to a couple of things, and one of them was carriers, and then yet another delay after a delay of a year, kind of just took it out of me. So I've been having a little bit of a break from the game, but I still follow what's happening, and I'm looking forward to the 2020 update. And I still plan to come back before that. I'm just letting it cool for a little bit.
The problem I see is that
Yes.
the longer you're out there, the more painful it will be when you die on the last jump from the bubble.
Especially when you're the one pulling the trigger.
Would I do that to you,
Yes,
friend?
Yes, you would. You would. Under the right circumstances, yes, you would.
All I did was interdict you. It's not my fault pirates followed us in.
Yes.
That I paid for.
Oh, by the way, remind me to give you my account details when the show's over.
Oh, so I can make it look like you?
No, so you can pay me for taking Jeff out.
Oh, okay. So you do want to be my auditor, my man.
Okay, is there anything else that anybody else would like to bring up? No? Okay.
I guess not.
Okay, well,
The deputy auditor position is available. I'm taking applications.
there was some news from the other branches. Obviously, the big news from site is that obviously the Lord Headmaster has taken the Federation victory of the Golconda very seriously. He's locked himself in his office and is refusing to speak to anyone, which is why he isn't with us today. And also, there is some news from the branch of Mind. I think the most notable news that from there over the last week is obviously there's been something Kevin discussed in last week's show, is the appointment of a new vice herald. He made that decision during the week, and obviously now everybody who's part of the PI knows that it is Kurt Austin. So congratulations to Kurt on his promotion. I wish him all the best. And being in the High Council, it's one of those things that people always think is awesome, and then they do it, and yeah, it is awesome. Nobody can deny that, but there is a lot of responsibility, and there is also being part of the High Council community, because we are a community. We're probably the oldest part of the community of the PI, continuous. So fitting in and making friends and talking to everybody. I mean, these are not always easy things to do. So I wish him the best of luck, and he at least now gets to see the glories of the behind the scenes look at Prismatic Imperium leadership.
Have to ask him how the first time he searched for his own name in the High Council.
That's a tradition. That is a tradition.
I had a note when we were talking about Missler's appointment. I was like,
Yeah.
future Missler, when you're reading this, don't be ashamed. We all did
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I remember we did that. We did do that to Missler. But yeah, it is a tradition. And it's a nice one, and sometimes a surprising one. Sometimes a nasty one. He said that about me?
I was about to say, that's assuming we had positive things to say about Missler.
Yeah. I was.
Come on, man. No reaction? You're killing me here. Now I feel like a jerk.
Yeah, I think Missler was obviously for the High Council and had been for a while before he was promoted. I think it was more a question of which position will become available for him first. I know that he was considered for my job, and then they were like, no, he wouldn't like just like sitting reading a pile of books under Techie.
Let's start making sight jokes here, but it's unbefitting.
It's fine. Techie's not here. I'm not the sensitive one. I was too. In fact, I do what I can to encourage certain rumors. So
we wouldn't want to waste Missler's potential as a site vice headmaster.
That's fair enough. There's very little asked of me in my career. This is kind of what I wanted. I wanted a nice, relaxing position, not like the madness that is BGS.
As Barefeet considers retiring.
He already has retired, and then we sucked him
retired
in.
again.
I'm going to retire from a second faction.
Yeah. Yeah, just don't retire from the faction, but you can retire from the BGS.
There's no retiring. It always sucks you back in.
Find something else you care about and have to fight for.
There's only one
finds you.
There's only one way to leave, and that's through the airlock.
I have managed to retire from.
Is this the Vigor equivalent of Space Madness?
Power playing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of is.
I think it kind of probably affects people more quickly as well, I suspect, than Space Madness does. BGS, man.
I'm still waiting on see who wins that bet between me and Bear for how long Missler will last.
Ooh, well, we can talk about we can talk about it later because I was wrong. I was wrong on a different bet.
He's already lasted longer than you thought, Bear.
No, what did I give? I gave Missler 8 months.
That's actually that's a good run.
I thought I gave him 6. Huh.
When were you appointed, Missler?
Good question.
It feels like forever ago now.
August, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you'd recently been promoted when we did the first show. Because we've been doing this now for at least 2 months. Yeah. Because this is the...
let me check when the Senate post was.
Yeah, this is the 11th episode. We've done 2 before that. So this is... Yeah, it's been
September
about
8.
3 months.
Wow.
Wait, no. That was the wrong post? September 5.
When was the first episode that we did? Probably shortly after that. It was in September anyway. Because we did 2 unrecorded episodes before we did the first Prismatic Congress one. So yeah, it was just after you get promoted that we started doing this.
I know what we could talk about. Recent RP happenings.
Yeah, well, that is something that we usually do discuss, but tonight
Jeff is not up to date.
I am not up to date. I'm fine with it being spoiled for me at this point, but because it's really hard for me to catch up now. I'm so far behind. So,
well, with the way these guys RP sometimes, you need to devote like an hour to it, like some pre-sleep reading or something.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Pretty much what I do.
I had been following
how's
it until work caught up with me, but
how's the jail treating you, Missler?
Yeah. Okay. Come on. Tell me why are you in jail? Let's give a story time to this week's episode, so that people who aren't caught up can catch up.
Is there a sound cue for that?
Before you answer that, did I read it right that the prison has a full bar?
Yes.
Damn.
Yes.
And
that's not stuff I made up. That's
wait.
Kevin
If
described
he's
to me.
is this the Prismatic Imperium prison?
Yes, the palace prison.
Yeah. No, there's even you've got a third class harem as well that is yours. You can make use of that as you will.
That one needs to get pre-approved though.
From
So
what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
understood by now, it has everything.
No. I mean, he's a Lord Warden. I mean, we don't just throw him in a damp cell.
no, we do call it the dungeon, but it is.
Yeah. It's more the dungeon apartments by the sea. It's kind of more would be more
What
accurate.
do I need to do to get, kicked into jail?
Well,
Well,
see, first you need to find yourself in a leadership position, then you get the good jail.
yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I forget.
And
You're
I-
the one who's knocking around the doors of the Ruby Citadel. You might end up there pretty soon.
Hey, it's a tactic. It's not a good one, but it is a tactic.
The
No.
poor Ben's in there having the time of his life. Just
I
he should have
remember.
been. He's hating it though.
I remember. Techie didn't want to come out. When we threw him in jail. Remember?
Actually, he's the one that started that and made that canon because we're like, we threw you in jail. He's like, all right, but it's a
No.
really sweet
That
jail,
that was organized. No, I
Oh, was it?
approved.
though.
I approved all that. I might even have told him through DM about that. Because, yeah, I do have in my mind that we are lords of the Imperium and we are in the Empire and we are civilized. We are not barbarians. The jail is because your freedom is now being prohibited. You can't leave, but it doesn't mean to say you have to be miserable and suffer. I mean, that would leave a permanent scar on somebody.
I mean, we're imperial. The hit on your honor is punishment enough.
Yep. Yeah. Although, again, I mean, the harem, it really... most of the girls there are over 22, so... And the boys, they're over 22. There's nobody under 22 in the third class harem.
22 is the new 18 and
In the third class...
5.
No, third class harem. That's, 18 to 22, that's in the first class harem.
Oh, why do you know this?
I'm the Lord, I founded it. It's an insight into Jeff mind. Yeah, but anyway, you're not getting into the nice jail until you become a Lord of the Imperium, Daniel.
I've learned it's kind of a prestige thing, and many were in there before me. Got the
Many were?
impression.
Anyone important has spent time there.
Yeah, I got the impression it's kind of a must-do.
Oh, we need to arrest Otto for something.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the last
Yeah.
time I did something that...
Oh, no. That can't happen. I'm sorry.
Huh?
We
Oh,
can't
now I'm
arrest
curious.
Otto.
Go on.
No, because, right, Corwin is he's the Duke. He's the leader. He's the inspiration. Otto has got his back at all times. And if Otto is not there guarding the Duke's back, I don't know what would happen. That would be a scary thought.
I mean,
Kevin-
Otto could always pull
Kevin
a
having
Jeff
his back?
and jail
I don't
himself,
think so.
or a Corwin and jail himself.
Yeah, Corwin jailed himself. Yeah, even Corwin's been in prison.
I'm jailing myself. I really like it there.
To be fair, Corwin didn't jail himself. He turned himself over to the Emperor, who then jailed him.
Mm.
Different. It's not like, okay,
I
guys.
feel like you're splitting hairs here, but okay.
No, it's not like he put himself in his room, locked the door, and then put the key under and said, okay, guys, let me out when I've been a good boy. That's not exactly what happened.
No,
That sounds
that's what I
more
imagined.
So, no. If I had known how this tonight's show would go and also that Otto would be here, I would have actually prepared an interview for the Chancellor. That's not actually a bad idea for a future episode.
Oh, right. Am I working next Sunday? Oh, ooh, I am. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, but give us a shout.
I really
we
am.
Can, we,
Huh.
can, we can do. we can do. We can do be a good idea. Also for different members. It's something I actually had been thinking about before, but if I had been clever, I would have prepared it for an eventuality like this week's episode where we're missing two members. The news was less than it has been in previous weeks. There is actually a lot of news, but the biggest issue with the beta news is that it covers a lot of things that we have already discussed in previous episodes. We've discussed bugs, we've discussed the future development, we've discussed how we feel about the refocus, the 2020, the fleet carriers being taken out. These are all things that we've discussed in previous episodes. So there is a lot of news this week, but not as it covers a lot of things that we've already talked about a lot in Congress. However, for a future episode, it would be good to do some interviews with Prismatic Imperium members. This can include the High Council. This could include active members. Barefeet, I was actually tempted earlier on today to actually throw together a hodgepodge interview of you, but it's the kind of thing I think where it shouldn't be thrown together like that. Something should be researched and good questions.
It's more of an in-character thing, or
no. With the player, I think it's a way of looking at the player. I mean, it can be an interview about the character as well. I mean, obviously that would be part of it, but
good, because there's no way I could keep up with my character.
No, we don't. Well, the only person who role plays at all times in the Congress is Tech. So, but most of us don't. But yeah, no, it'd be a good thing to do in the future is doing interviews with some notable players. So, anyway,
well, make sure to tell them before.
What? Yeah, no, obviously.
Surprise interview.
Surprise interview. Yeah. We could do that. Anyway,
if I can use the opportunity, since I
please do.
I'd just like to say that I am absolutely fascinated by how much the Prismatic Imperium has developed over the years. I'm technically a new member, but I've actually been around for more than 3 years. Joined up way back when, and never actually became a full member. So
Daniel takes off his mask and reveals himself to be it's Kevin the whole time. So
that's okay. But honestly, like back then, it was a simple thing. I remember the day when they opened up the Facebook group that is probably not even active anymore. But it's
wow,
it's
you're
like,
that old?
Yeah, it's pretty old. But I actually never ended up officially joining other than hanging out with the guys back then. Just remember Kevin and
you weren't in the
team
TeamSpeak at all, were you?
Well, I was at the start. You could go back to 2016 and see some messages from me probably.
You might be one of the few people who remembers what my first name here was.
Like, you're setting yourself up for a fall here, man.
Maybe, but I have to admit, over the years, I've completely forgotten everything. And
hey, Dan, are you a CC or a senator sort of guy?
I don't know yet.
Okay, if you don't know the difference.
I do know the difference. I just can't decide which one I'd rather be. Like, I like both.
Well, when you figure it out, let me know. We'll get you off probation.
Yeah, no, I've been here.
That'd be great.
I was actually the admin of the original Facebook group that set up the PI.
No, cool.
That's me. I am the.
He's the OG.
I'm the originator of all things. Prismatic Imperium. I didn't actually invent the name. I can't remember who did. It was kind of a hodgepodge of a couple of names, which were the Chona Imperium and the Prismatic Concilium, I think, were two of the names. So, like,
I think I threw one in there. It was like the Aegis Collective or something.
Yeah, that would have been cool now. But I think Prismatic Imperium has kind of worked out for the best. It's not my idea, but it's been a
Hey, we
good-
can slap prismatic on things. It's amazing.
yeah, or Prismatica
Indeed.
on Gallerias.
Yes.
So no, but it's worked out really well, and it's always been a community effort. I always tried to involve everybody in everything at every stage. Make it all about Otto. So yeah.
Wait, what?
So yeah, it's good to see an old member coming back, especially from the old Facebook group. Because that is actually how we started out. The Prismatic Imperium was originally our original title was Otto. Do you remember?
The Ashling Duval. Wasn't it just
Yes.
like Ashling Duval group or something?
Ashling Duval Facebook group.
Yeah,
was
it
the
was
original title.
really original.
Lame.
To be fair, it was a great PR move. We got so many people from that.
Yeah, I mean that group. That's how we managed to get like important group status like from the get go. Because like I could just point to Facebook group and go, we have 500 members. Give me some status, bro. And they did. So I was always able to use those numbers to.
And by us, you mean Jeff personally.
Yeah. That was it. Was like me and Kevin, and it was like me, Kevin, and Madison. I think at one point where it was like basically us and like Gareth, Vickershaft, and that was basically it. It was like 5 of us who were really actually doing everything, and we had a lot of members discussing things in the Facebook group. But in terms of actually doing stuff, because I mean that's where Discord was just a massive revolution for us. I mean, even more than TeamSpeak, because
Wait, no, isn't it because you forgot to pay the TeamSpeak bill?
no, it's because I deliberately cancelled the.
That's not how I remember it.
I deliberately cancelled the website. I deleted the website deliberately, forgetting that it was tied into our TeamSpeak account, which is exactly how it happened. And then I had to very quickly find a zero cost alternative because there was like some months paid up when I did that, and it was like, oh my god. And I hadn't paid for all those months, so I felt really bad. But it was an accident. Because I forgot that I tied the two together, and the TeamSpeak actually came with. It was one of those what was it called? The engine accounts, the old engine websites for guilds. So like you got a website, and a forum and TeamSpeak account, and it was all like a big package, and it cost a lot of money to do it that way. And in the end, it was just. I mean, it was something we were looking at getting rid of anyway, because there were alternatives coming out in the market, which is what we started doing with the TPM website. And it's we were starting to look at Discord, which is why I was able to really quickly get us over here, because it was already something I've been considering doing, but I hadn't planned to do it like that night by accident. So it's like, okay, guys, I've deleted the TeamSpeak, but here's our new Discord server. Go there. So, but Discord was amazing because it's got that mix of voice and a functional chat system, which TeamSpeak never really fully developed. It was always like an add-on with TeamSpeak. You were never there to chat. You were there to speak in voice for most people. So, yeah, Discord was a revolution that allowed us to become a fully integrated community where we all got to know each other and become friends and hang out and make jokes and have
Fun fact.
Yeah?
The last message sent in the Facebook group chat was sent exactly 1,200 days ago now.
Wow. Because that's actually where the Senate comes from. The name of the Prismatic Senate actually comes from the name of that chat window in Facebook. And that's also where the High Council was formed. And that's also why we have diamonds, because that was our chat emoji. Because it looked like the prismatic symbol.
That's also where Kumo Burgers comes from.
A lot of history.
Anyway, thank you for joining me during this trip down memory lane. I have been Jeff Ryan. This has been the Prismatic Congress. I hope you've enjoyed the show.